Okay.
Okay, so everyone's good? Okay, so we're taking attendance and I'm gonna need Susan on the screen when I do the roll call. Joyce Carrier, present.
Present.
Ken Fitzgerald,
I'm here.
Susan Klein.
Here.
Thank you.
Here.
Yeah, thank you. Heard you. All set. We have a fairly full agenda tonight, so we'll get started. There are a couple of planning board articles we need to review. With that, I'll turn it over to Chad Peck and Rich McCarthy, who are here on behalf of the planning board and the planning department. And I don't know how you want, which order you want to take these in. There were two articles that you.
Well, there's 4 articles in total.
Right, we reviewed 2 of them with you.
Yeah, we reviewed to Article 18. We'll start there. So Article 18 is for Shire Drive. So we found that developer to be a default. We've then put a bond for that.
Okay.
So what we're doing in the bond is $272,000. So what we're doing is requesting to use that money for the completion of the roadway and subdivision elements for Shire Industrial Park.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions on it? Members of the board committee get done.
Does this just need to cover the whole review?
It does not.
Do we have an estimate?
So we do have an estimate from DPW, but part of this money is actually going to be used we need to get started somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I believe the estimate from DPW was double that, triple that. $250,000, about $650. But we need to get started somewhere, and we need to start looking at the drainage structures. So we're like, we want to use this money to get started to see, so we can put together a more accurate estimate of what's needed to finish. But the original estimate by DPW was about $650.
And this is the total bond that you have.
That's it. Yeah. So we know we have drainage.
Still around? I'm just curious. Like, it's been a long time. But,
We just went bankrupt. Yes, the company is still on.
and the roadway is, it's like first go.
It's falling apart. It's falling apart.
Yeah.
And there's drainage issues, there's some drainage structures issues, and yeah, the list goes on.
Well. Any questions? Anyone, Ken or Joyce or Susan have questions? If you've got the warrant in front of you, it's Article 18, which would allow the planning board to use the $272,000 we took from the performance. Is that an accurate description of that? All right, I think we're done. Okay. We want to put that up. We're going to go sort of after this.
That's fine. Article 19 we talked about last time. It is a kind of a drafting error and something that should have been corrected with eco one. So it's just the bold and strike through language on that. Article 20 is the non-conforming structures, so it's section 310-4 or 6.4 non-conforming structures. So this was something that the zoning board, this article and the next one, the zoning board came to us. I think we really need to revisit this and clean this language up. They have a lot of quite often people come to the zoning board for things regarding non-conforming structures or other structures, and quite often when it's a non-conforming structure, they just want to rebuild what's there, which we talked about last time. And so it's really just a matter of striking through that language, adding a bold. And what we're doing is we're allowing them to rebuild that non-conforming structure by right instead of having to go to the zoning board.
Same footprint, same dimensions, stuff like that.
Okay. So on article, and they can rebuild that structure if it is a non-conforming structure, there is the capability to build it slightly larger, 500 square feet larger.
Does anyone have any questions for Chad on it? Anyone? Ken, Joyce, Susan?
I do. Chad, so what you're saying is if some, I just want, and it's not that I didn't hear what you said, it's that I couldn't, it's garbled a little bit. So I'm just going to ask you to repeat or just confirm that I'm understanding what you're saying. What you're saying is it's an article. If you have a non-conforming building on your lot, say a shed, a barn, anything like that, you can now update to it without changing the size by right instead of having to come and get a variance.
That is correct. No.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood you.
Yeah. And you can make it a little bit larger, 500 square feet larger by special permit. Right? Pretty saturated.
Yeah, so you could, if you want to make changes to it and you comply with the setbacks, if you don't violate them, then earlier you just do it a matter of right instead of special permit. And then you need to try to increase or encroach on a setback by special permit.
Right.
If there's anyone online who wants to ask a question, please use the raise your hand icon. That'd be great. Any other questions on that one? Okay. Moving on.
Article 21
Mhm.
is this section 310-6.5 accessory buildings, swimming pools. And so there again, the ZBA requested us to kind of clean up some of this language with regard to setback for some of these accessory buildings and swimming pools. And I know last time you'd asked how often does this come up, and so Rich did pull data going back to 2017, and so I do have that data. I believe like total special permits. There was 61 over the last 7 years, average of about 9 a year. Total variances was 27, which is about 4 a year. And then Rich did break it down by, how is by changing this, how some of these would just go away. They wouldn't have to go to the ZBA. But
Rich, was this in the email? Do you have this? Can we get this electronically? I know you said.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Email to Erica.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
So this is doing two things, right? One, actually three things. One, you can now have an accessory building closer to your house than the height is. So I can put a shed right up to my house.
Yes.
Okay. The second thing is I can put it in the front yard. Because you're striking that language in no event in the front yard.
mm-hmm.
All right, so we just undid what we did, fall last year or spring, where we said where we changed the front yard a little bit. So we've undone that now. So now front yard's in play.
Front yards is flooding. For R1, 2, and 3, for zoning districts R1 and 2 and 3.
So A, what's the logic on that? If we just spent if we had a big fight on town meeting floor about not allowing in the front yard, in this new part of the front yard, we just created this front yard because it used to be a side yard. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is a reduction in a front side or rear yard requirement may be allowed. So you can go, now you'd be in the front yard and closer than the setback. With a special permit.
With a special permit. Yes.
All right. So these are always driven by particular cases. These zoning laws are always driven by what happened, who wants a shed in their front yard. And I don't want to name, but what's the circumstance that came up?
I want to ask.
So just to get back to what we did a couple years ago with the front yard, it didn't have setback in there, and we added that in because it was being interpreted what that front yard meant. It didn't have setback in, so that was inserted in there. So essentially, that rectangular area, sideline to sideline, back 50 feet, that rectangular space is the front yard. And so part of the discussion was like, okay, the front yard, and then we got into if the house is way back, we're going to allow accessory buildings in the front yard. Does it have to go to the front plane of it? And there was examples where some houses in town are set way back off the street. So if you went from the front plane, the house might be 400 or 500 feet off the street. And so a garage that you would want to construct, which is typically in cases like those, are,
I think I made that argument at time meeting.
would,
So why take a lap?
and so this has been a larger, and as we would, last time we were down this discussion point, we started going around town, and there is an enormous amount of sheds that violate the zone because they're in the front yards. And because, and understandably from a resident standpoint, you look at the front of your house and, you know, you think of that space, but we have 200 feet of frontage and the shed is over on the left, is 50 feet into the street. That's the front yard from a zoning perspective, but yet, you know, I think most instances people are like, that's fine, I don't really, you know, it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, it's a zoning violation. So the idea is to create a mechanism where somebody can go in and do that in those cases where there might be site constraints, wetlands, et cetera, but through a special permit process. So you take into consideration the character, the issues to be able to do that, give them the flexibility. And similarly, we talked about the front yard of the corner lot with the two front yards. Again, it allows you the ability to do that with an accessory building, which, you know, you can't do that, so you got to adhere to those 250-foot setbacks. It depends on the site conditions. It can make a big difference.
All right, there was great gnashing of teeth and tears and rending garments about this a couple of years ago. We're kind of basically undoing it.
Wouldn't say we're maybe doing it, we're modifying and improving it.
So what's the trigger on the special permit? All right, let's say I already have a front yard shed. All of a sudden we've noticed it. Is Bob Bullock going to say, boy, that's an illegal shed, you need to get a special permit? Or is he going to wait until I try to reside my shed and say, you're doing something in your shed, now you need a special permit? Or, so what's going to be the real impact of this to all these front yard sheds that are hanging out in Norfolk? Or the
existing shed would be grandfathered there.
right, but
You mentioned about enhancing it, so that would fall under that non-conforming structure.
Well, it's going to depend on your example. So some sheds are going to be smaller than required, right? So, you know, it's not going to necessarily put down. I would pretty confidently assure you that he's not going to be going around town trying to look at sheds that are illegally set back in the front yard setback. What it does do, if something does come up that allows a mechanism for somebody to try to bring into compliance, we have, you know, there has been sheds more recently that were in the front yard, which technically, but they're way off the side, they violate a setback, and their path to try to make it comply was a variance. It's like, well, you know,
you can't get variance.
it really should be able to, you know, the standard. So this is going to create some ability to have some common sense and think about the site and kind of how you apply these things to allow for that to go in place. And that's the whole crux of the able to get something like that.
So one last thing.
Yeah.
Why not? Why do we need a special permit here? Really? I mean, it seems.
Which part of it?
Well, it could scale up larger. So, I mean,
I've got an 8x8 shed.
Well, that's no, you're not even, you know.
I've got a 10x10 shed, I decided I want to have
What's the
a
cutoff?
man cave or something.
What's the
the
cutoff?
building is 200 square feet, but it could be a garage too. So, I mean, you know, so we're not, I mean, I'm using a shed, but there could be accessory buildings that could scale up where.
Well, actually, to the chairman's point, can I put an 8x8 shed in the setback? I don't need a building permit. I just throw it up on my own, or do I need a special permit?
You could put it up there, but it would be violation. So it violates.
Yeah.
And this also applies to swimming pools too.
Well, that's.
Well, no, we're not going to assume it. They're staying the way they are.
Oh, yeah. I'm not, the age of the accessory building, 215.
That's what we're doing.
We're not changing anything, just that.
You know, but gentlemen, anyone, and any of our members online have any questions? No. I think we're all done with those 4 articles.
There is another change in that article, in paragraph E. It's just a Scrivener's thing. It's a change of Holocaust to disaster.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah.
Nice. You. Got it. So we're all set with that. Can I run some? Okay. We have Jack and credential. Peter. Okay. Last time Rich was here, we had a long conversation about that kind of trail project. Zach is here to answer any questions. Unfortunately, the gentleman who had the most questions was here tonight. I have a serious question to start off with, and I can sort of do this to you right off the bat. But my understanding is that Rentham is not voting on this until the spring meeting. Is that an accurate statement? That is correct. So if we had any unanswered questions and we decided to vote on it until the spring, it's not going to be needed the projects. Well, that's why I'm asking the question.
So in terms of Rentham, they didn't have it time. Town meeting synced up to be able to vote on it. So that was the in terms of them relative to the town meeting. Walpole has already voted previously, so they have voted their share for it. The concern of not moving forward now, and just back up, I know Joyce asked this question. So it's 3 legs to the table, and that's the analogy I would use. And if one of the legs, gets knocked off, then we're all back. Right. So the money would come back because we wouldn't have a project. It's really be competitive in terms of going to try to make the case to get this money, because it is competitive to get the money, and it would provide a stronger application to be able to get the money to be able to fund the design, which is, we're in a situation where we have a unique opportunity to get design money for a project of this scale and have it matched, which is not what occurs with NASCAR. With local projects, you got to fund the design. You can put the project on the tip to get it constructed, but not design. So this is kind of a win-win that we're able to kind of work together. And because we're regional, it makes us a better case to be funded, to then do the design, get design permitted, and then it would move to the tip to be constructed once it reaches 25% design. And then as money becomes available, we can program it in. So it's really.
So here's the follow-up question then. I mean, without the third town, are you able to file an application?
We are, yes. All right, so we've had those conversations already with the MPO.
And it's an unfunded application. In other words, you and the other 2 planners, the other 2 towns, or whoever that is pulling this together, not someone taking it. So
we're using a little bit of some consultant from some of the technical aspects of it.
Right.
But yeah, so
that's already funded.
That's within this article.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Okay. So if we vote on this, you need us to vote on this to pay the.
I do.
Okay. That's why I asked you the question.
And if we don't get the grant,
That money's
gone.
Right.
But we'll not have to spend the other money.
Correct.
Sorry.
Anyone have any questions, Joyce? And
David,
yeah.
I apologize. I apologize to all of you. I don't know how to raise my hand on this thing.
No, you don't have to raise your hand. I'm going to ask you guys. It's the
thank you.
Members of the general public that have asked to raise their hand. You don't need to raise your hand, Joyce. I'm going to ask you every time. So.
Thank you. Rich, could you please refresh my memory from the last time we spoke? Could you please explain exactly why there's such a disparaging difference between the 3 towns and what they are approving for funding the trailway, please?
Sure. So our portion of it, while it's a little bit shorter than Rentham's proposal, we do have the bridge over 115. That's driving our number a little bit higher because there's structural engineering involved. So it's a more heavier lift from a permitting perspective. And I know the argument, some might say, well, let's not do the bridge. But the bridge is kind of a vital component to have a continuous pathway in Norfolk. I know others will benefit from that, but so will the town. So it's, you know, it's just, we broke it down by share.
And to represent our missing member, but also remind folks that Brian is very interested in the alternative routes. He specifically just got some sort of cut through that would go through Pond Street coming from kind of the prison side. I confirmed with you that this is going to have to go through the legal process because it's an expenditure of state dollars, right? Correct. As an alternatives analysis.
Okay. So we move it through that process. But in terms of what Brian was asking last time, so part of that is that it's going through wetland. And one segment of it is actually on conservation restriction as well, so it's not even.
Pathways? I guess pay those. It's not frozen.
Well, it would be paid, but there's also a CR already existing on a portion of land that's between Valley Street and Dedham Street. There's a wetland area there that goes all the way up to, okay. You know, if you take the Valley Street, come across on the piece that it's on parallel with Dedham is a CR, but the other side of it is the wetland complex area that would be a massive. Right. Okay. They would probably go a little.
Does anyone else have any questions on it? And what is your role with that? You're like the
Yeah, so I'm the president of basically the Friends group that we turned into an organization that is getting, you know, just building community support. And on one side, there's some, you know, frequently asked questions that we put out there for folks specific to Norfolk, the questions we thought that they might have going into the town meeting. And Rich and I have been working sort of side by side. And I guess you could say that the Friends group is sort of the glue that's kind of sticking the together.
all right. I'm sorry. Distracted. The applicant for the grant is 3 towns, or is it some?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then if we approve it, it's built in the intention stuff and the plan goes onwards now or North Alabama or whatever.
Yeah.
Once it gets built, the ownership of the trail itself is each individual town's responsibility for upkeep and stuff like that. Yeah.
And that's what I think
The Friends, yeah, sure. And the paving portion of that, we can get there and pave in 15 years. It's a different story, but
yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Trail maintenance is something that the association will sort of take care of or assist with. I shouldn't say take care of completely, but
and the intention is the whole thing is paved.
correct.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? John?
Just one quick question. Did you look at or do you know what the cost difference would be if we do the bridge versus not do the bridge? What's the impact just of the bridge alone to the overall project?
It was like $3 million.
Yeah, that's something, right? And while I will assume that everyone believes the bridge would be nicer, is it worth $3 million? To have a bridge as opposed to stoplight?
There were some at the town workshop that we had, there was some concern with the traffic that's already existing on Pine Street on 115 in that area, especially during you know, higher volume traffic time events at the stadium. So to cross the street level, I didn't have this concern necessarily myself, but I think that it is probably valid for especially the folks that live in that area that see it up front. That, you know, they just think that it would probably be more safe to have people crossing at street level.
I would disagree. There's going to be a higher element of risk with people crossing the street. There's risk. I mean, I could build a bridge across the street from my neighbors and I would never get hit by a car. I'm just questioning the wisdom of all the expenses that the town has, whether an additional $3 million to this project, whether there's matching grant or not, we're going to be paying for a good portion of that, whether that's something we really should be, I don't want to say aspiring to, but putting in as plan A. I mean, that's a significant cost difference as opposed to just having a crossing with, you know, it's like the Cape Rail Trail. Anytime biker comes within, 50 feet, there's some sensor that gets triggered and the lights start flashing, and I'm sure there could be some other traffic control devices put on. I mean, of course it's a busy street, but I don't know if the fact that it's a busy street justifies an additional $3 million for the bridge.
Sorry, Brad. I'll talk a little off the cuff. Hopefully it'll upset Rich here, but I think we have a pretty unique opportunity, and one of the initial fears that I had in the project is that Norfolk would be separated from the trail to the south. And if that were the case, Norfolk and Walpole would have, you know, about a mile section, and then we would have nowhere to connect to Rentham, which would be, you know, 15 miles going to North Attleboro, hopefully Cumberland, Rhode Island, hopefully connecting to the Blackstone River Bikeway, and just a very large trail system. We have this opportunity to maybe very quickly connect into Rentham and make Norfolk a significant part of the trail system. And I think if we don't jump on the opportunity, we could be back to some of my initial fears of connecting Norfolk. So, and that's not that I don't think that it will ever happen, but it will be the most difficult phase if we don't look at some of these opportunities that just kind of fell into our lap.
It could turn out through the review process that they may go, with that recommendation not to do the bridge, or we're starting with the bridge and might go the opposite, and it could go the reverse potentially, if that's something I have to evaluate. The Cape Cod Rail Trail, I think it was a 134, used to be a grade cross there, and now it's a bridge over 134. So they, you know, they can shift. I think if they probably had the drugs back then, they probably would have gone to the bridge to begin.
The reason, one more comment, sorry, the reason I'm going down the sorts of looking at the feasibility study says a bridge would provide the highest level of safety, but an at-grade crossing, the less costly alternative, can meet an acceptable level of safety, and we prioritize pedestrian safety, want to traffic control measures, advanced warning signage. It doesn't say in the feasibility study, don't do a bridge under any circumstances. And I'm just throwing out for consideration that in the feasibility study, it says an at-grade crossing can meet an acceptable level of safety, and it just seems that an additional $3 million project. We can do a lot of other things. Again, what's the expected amount of match that we would get?
The construction,
I mean,
yeah, 100%. So if we get funded, we're not paying for the bridge.
No.
So the 155 is 155 of the bridge or not, right? I mean,
Yeah. So that is designed. That number is based on the bridge. If it's not a bridge, it might be a little bit less.
so it's going to be around. We could put so this discussion is about the actual building, not.
so just to play that back, we will put $0 on construction costs per bridge.
Yes, correct. This is the fund, the 100% construction on this project. Not just here, but
Yeah, correct. Money that we're seeking is for the design, so that the state and federal dollars will fund the construction.
Anyone else? Ken or Joyce? Mike? Yes.
You jump.
Well, I was, go ahead. Oh, that's a big problem.
Have they running the rail trail off the tip yet?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying. I can get back to this. There's been a bunch of rail trail projects that have been happening too.
I know we were trying to do it. My favorite actually tip one.
They have, and then progressively have kind of carved out more and more budget, so we're fine.
Thank you. I think we're all set. All right. With that, I think we're going to move on to the presentation from the town on the capital. You guys can sit back and watch if you want, or Bob, in concession stand next door. You want to get some popcorn back?
I can't get football out, so I don't have to. What's it?
When we spoke to Justin last week, he said that we had our free cash certified and we were going to use on a capital expenditure plan.
Yep.
Proposing things for this, the article that's appearing here. I'm going to move my article.
So prior to getting the capital plan, I'm going to Article 2 next first.
Yeah, okay, good, perfect. All right, Article 2 is first, transfers. Thank you.
So with transfers is a typical year, coming.
This, these are the comments. Go ahead.
Well, my talking
No,
about.
okay, now it's got it.
So both the annual town meeting and special town meetings, typically the town does transfers to make up differences in operational budget items or unexpected circumstances. And typically, as you've indicated, we had the free cash certified, which was recently certified at 2.908 million as of June 30th of 2023. So what we're typically trying to do is take about half of that pretty much capital and do some transfers into various accounts into that source. So we've identified two items, free cash 330,000, ambulance receipts reserve 35,000. The 35,000 from the ambulance is from billing services that they do throughout the year. So it works out to be about 32,000 and change year to year with 3% potential for the following costs of that sort. So that's the 35,000. So the 330,000, how we want to move those transfers, 200,000 to the stabilization fund. Currently, our stabilization fund has 2.184 million in it. What we try and target is about 5% of operating budgets in reserves. We put a little bit below operational budget of 5%, but with anticipated increases in the interest income throughout the year, we expect the amounts to be closer to about $2.5 million. Both that trust funds started out funding this a few years back, 25,000, wanted to double each year, trying to reach the $100,000 threshold. Last year we were at 75,000. We made sense this year to continue at $75,000. We continue to work out the old funding. Every 2 years we get a revaluation. So it's kind of levelized right now. Again, it's something that changes interest rates, markets, things of that sort, how many retirees, things like that. Land use, legal fees, we have some legal expenses. Currently for the 2024 year, we need about $10,000 to cover those as part of the operational budget. Town clerk land use, they have an E-code update, which is a software system for the bylaws. The cost of that is about $3,400. That was budgeted. Norfolk Public Schools, state aid came in a little bit higher than what we originally budgeted, and because of the budgeting process here, the schools were cut back a little bit. And agreement with the town, the schools was any additional money that come in the state aid that we kind of look at the schools talking about with their budget. That different amount is 25,770.
Anomaly.
Pardon me? Keep going.
Okay. Fire department, they have PPE replacement that they have to do annually, and typically we include that as a budget item. We cut it out a couple of years back. We did put it back in for 5,000 the previous year. We cut it out this year again because again budget restrictions. But this will just help get the PPE that they need going forward basis. We're going to try incrementally $5,000 to build that back up. But then the ambulance plan that identified previously, that's what we're doing. The ambulance company.
So 330,173 from free cash, 35,000 from ambulance, going into those funds. Good question.
Is there a target, like, I know not a realistic target, we're not expecting much money of our pension liability to be overhead, but is there a target that you want to get to, or?
Sure. So, like I said, we want to try and fund this each year just so that we can show good faith that we're trying to make efforts to get to that target. Obviously, right now we have a retirement system in about 10 years or so that we're not going to have to fund that portion, but that money will then go to skill cap, so we can get that at that point. So there is a plan in place to start hitting that 300 for the down the road.
Anyone else have any questions on this? Rob?
Legal fees 40B. Can you explain that?
I sure can.
I thought the applicant paid for your legal fees.
Not for legal fees. Or paid for professional peer review work and various disciplines, but in terms of hiring of legal counsel help, no, that's not.
The CBA?
Okay.
Anything on it? Oh, you have another? Yep, right.
So the 3,400 for the E-code update, is that going to be an annual thing? Is that?
So the E-code update is typically included in the budget. This is a one-off. That additional items have to be updated into the code that they didn't plan for when they did the master purpose. So we don't expect, it'll be part of the operational budget when we go through the operations to make sure it's completely there.
Okay. Anyone else? Ken or Joyce?
Yeah, sorry, the opioid expense, you probably explained it, but what is that?
Oh, I'm sorry, I had the old sheet.
Okay.
350,173. I'm looking at the old one. You guys need to correct me. My apologies. So the additional 20,000. The opioid industry had made settlements throughout the entire nation, and as a town, we're receiving similar settlements. To date, we've had about $45,000 in receipts. How could you handle it? Well, they are kind of still up in the air on how best to handle opioid monies, but the monies are supposed to be designated towards opioid type expenses, rehabilitation, because that's what about the opioid price. So we are part of this town warrant includes the establishment of the stabilization fund. Stabilization fund from this point forward will have money transferred into it. We actually had to, per Division of Local Services, it was a requirement that we have flow through to free cash. So we are having 20,000 allocated out to a line item that's going to be under this supplement town administrator's office to use for expenses this year. Even though we're establishing the stabilization fund, we will earmark money going into that following the town meeting. Once you put money in with 50% vote, you have to have a 2/3 vote to pull them out through a town meeting. It's not an operation through cycling.
Is this money committed or is it already expended? Or
It is not committed or expended. It is a designation of monies to be utilized for expenses related to the.
so during fiscal 20?
Like I said, the May town meeting, once this account has been established, the differential of whatever we have, we'll improve that into a stabilization fund. If there's months left over at the end of the year, we'll probably transfer at the May town meeting instead of for X dollars. That line item, so it's a stabilization fund. That way it's all tracked.
Thank you.
My apologies.
So Article.
Ken has a question.
And go ahead, Rich.
Just a question on the opioid money where we're saying expenses. So that money's very heavily regulated on what it can be spent on, where it can be spent. It just can't be spent, so to speak, requires quarterly reporting back to the AG's office, that sort of thing. So I'm just confused with this. The round number, the 20,000 isn't the accurate number, what Norfolk's gotten in opioid settlement money this year. So why are we not seeing that exact amount getting moved over into the opioid trust account?
You'll see that amount at the May town meeting. Like I said, we are moving monies over so we can utilize expenses this year. Because once you move monies into the stabilization fund, you have to have an appropriation coming out in order to have that money spent, i.e., a 2/3 vote at a town meeting to say, okay, we can spend X dollars. There's no money in the stabilization fund now. We're establishing the stabilization fund at this next town meeting. And then at the May town meeting, we will fund it the difference of what we received to date, minus what we have for 20,000 and any expenses there we incur for the 24. But this allows us the opportunity to expend our monies on opioid items in fiscal year 24.
And we don't have the fund yet until we vote on an active fund. This is the alternative way of spending money on opioid expenses. So before, for next fiscal year, the opioid fund will be the body, the entity which funds are spent out of. But between now and then, the select board want the ability to, under the rules as you say, to spend this at $20,000 for potential expenses this year. It would be nice if we had an anticipated budget on this, just to let you know, when before telling someone to bring it to town meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else on this? Cool. Article 3 and 4 are the two capital articles.
So Article 3 and Article 4, two capital articles. Article 3 is capital from borrowing. Article 4 is free cash. Questions that are related to DPW items. I can do a phone friend and or Blair may be joining us a little bit because I know he's with the select board meeting. So trying to address most of the questions other than DPW. I'll try and answer them as best I can, but if there's further follow up, I'd be happy to get that information. For Article 3 for borrowing. We looked at water debt. Currently, we had a big drop off, a little over 200,000 from last year to this year. Required payments for debt payments towards water, and it's pretty good accounting and operational wise to kind of keep that amount year to year consistent. So thought process is identify a few different projects that comes up to that amount. And you also, I have to also be cognizant of if I'm borrowing, what am I borrowing limitation, whether it's time frame, horizon, whether it's a 10-year, 20-year, 30-year bond. I'm very excited so we can do different terms on the bonds for different items. In this case, we have 3 items that we've identified. One is a meter replacement, and we have 2 main replacements. The main replacement is 1.8, and the meter replacement is 1.4. Meter replacement is basically everybody's meter in town, just getting upgraded to the new system. It's antiquated, I guess. Again, I didn't get more information, but my understanding is it's an older type system, and it needs to be improved just like every other piece of technology equipment that we have available for it. To replace all of the meters that are necessary is $1.4 million in the town. Main replacement is the main.
That means that everybody's meter is going to get replaced with this money?
It's already happened. It happened 2 weeks ago.
So I think, let me just make sure. Seeking to replace the outdated radio-based AMR with an updated advanced metering analytic system that has cloud-based cellular system. So it's the hosting system, not the actual meters on the houses themselves, but the operational system throughout the town in order to do all the meter reading.
Okay, so now the thing that's attached to the side of the house, it's what it reads.
Well, it'll be improvements on those in order to make sure that they're all up to date, if some are not up to date.
But it's this is going to cover the whole.
And this is all, again, funded through the Water Enterprise Fund. This is not town funds. So
All 3 of these.
all of these. So again, operational wise, water meters, you have a 10-year option for bonding, so I can look at that doing bonding. And then the main replacements, I can go as far as 40 years, so you can go for the year, probably 15 or 20, just to make sure that I'm just I'm going to need to as far as replacements, and then we would calculate out what the capital improvement cost would be, because currently the way the water program works, we have a capital improvement cost, which is tied to the capital items, such as the newest water well that we had. So that amount goes down each year as it is being paid off. So obviously that will increase a little bit on a per gallon basis.
I'm sort of asking, is there any sort of cap on what the water department can borrow with their own borrowing capacity?
I don't know what the cap is, but we're not
I
gonna.
mean, we're not, this is not a levy. I think it's outside. It's
The enterprise fund.
Heard before.
And just quickly on the water enterprise.
Yeah.
So I told you the free cash for town is 2.9. For water, right now we have about 2.95. So maintain earnings, and we're talking about some of those items for next year.
Okay. No problem.
So the Seacon water main, didn't you just rip up Seacon this last year?
Yes. Those gas, natural gas.
Oh, the gas line? Wow. Okay.
Someone needs to talk about.
Did we repay Seacon? Or is it still just cash?
Where on Seacon?
Well, I know, well, I only like got X amount on Seacon, but it was definitely from like Lincoln down to, no, it's just still.
That's right.
Streets to,
All right.
Yeah, it goes all the way down to the,
Yeah.
okay.
And still bumping.
It's right.
That's sort of, that's a side conversation with our.
Sounds good.
Moving on,
All right, 4. Capital items, no free cash and retained earnings. There's 3 sources that we're gonna be using money for free cash. 1,002,000, and this is the right side. 1,002,235, ambulance reserve, receipt reserve, 325, and water enterprise retained earnings, 133,000 currently. So those are the sources of the money, where are those sources of the money that be used for, the next 15 or so items that are listed. So I'll just kind of go through them, okay, and then have questions at the end, or if you have a pressing question, please stop me as we go through this. Town clerk, election equipment, so, we have a couple of items in our full capital budget list of almost 111, $637 of request. So we have to take $111 million and then identify from that $111 million how we're gonna kind of spend our capital requests. And so we asked all department heads, go through all the requests in, update on a one-to-one basis, and sometimes need some sort of forward a couple of years or what have you. But basically take the best guesstimate of what it's gonna cost to implement your plan and what is the priority. So, you know, sometimes we met with the department head, they came in and said, okay, this is what I need. All right, well, if you need that, what is the priority? What are your top 2 or 3 really push button items that need to be accomplished? So we sit down with the department heads, go through that process, go through all the different departments, depending on what their requirements are. Big players are obviously police, fire, facilities maintenance, and schools. We have a couple of other department heads, in this case, elections, some equipment. But then Justin will sit down and go through the list, and with what we talked about, he'll come up with his ideas. I'll go through the list, I'll come up with my ideas, and we'll actually get together. And oddly enough, this year we kind of aligned on a lot of the items, just about all the items, in order to kind of come up with what we anticipate as far as our capital requests that we have in front of you. So first item, election equipment. This election equipment is actually a high-speed scanner copier, which will allow Carol the opportunity to not necessarily have as many details as she has to have in order for the early voting process and the actual voting of the data on the vote itself. This allows her to feed the documents into a high-speed scanner, which goes much quicker. You don't necessarily have to have a person waiting there, you know, scan it in, 2 minutes later, okay, good to go. This will allow a lot more efficiency during the election process. That particular copier comes with its computer, it's a standalone machine, the all-in cost is $25,000. Library, we've identified issues with some of the piping with respect to sprinkler systems and some things of that sort. So thought process is, okay, let's add a nitrogen generator, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this. Add a nitrogen generator into the system to allow no air, therefore no less corrosion in the systems, which would ultimately make them last a little bit longer. And we have issues with the library that we can deal with. And if we purchase this particular product, it's not a one and done item. If we have to upgrade other items, we can add this to the new system. So it's not just a once and done, and you don't have it.
In other words, it remains that the system.
You can use it in a different system, ideally to provide protection in that new system as well.
Why is it, I'm sorry, the system circulates water or something else?
No, it's a dry system over there,
Okay, all right.
but it's so corroded, when introducing the nitrogen into the pipes gets rid of the oxygen.
Right.
Which is what causes it to dry out all the water that's stuck in there.
Library replaced boiler, came to notice that, we have two boilers that are over the library. One is, kind of really falling apart. We band-aided it back together. The other is operational, could carry it as is, but you're relying on one boiler to run the entire system, which is not really designed for one boiler as well. And there's some questions you guys have, with respect to that particular item.
Matt, if you're going to answer questions, you actually probably should say it. Thank you.
You have a question?
Yes, do that.
Okay, go ahead.
When was there's an operational one, less operational Band-Aid. When was when the current, the one that's better was replaced?
It wasn't replaced, but 2 years ago it was refurbished.
All right, I remember talking about libraries. Okay, thank you.
Fire department, fire number 2, originally part of the overall request, the request for $85,000 to replace fire number 2 with the fire department. We've since identified an actual available car that we don't have to order, we can have readily at a much lower cost. Again, it's $34,000 in change. $36,000 is the ask to get this particular car. Again, I think it basically is a substitute for the $85,000. There is some mileage on it, but it's readily available. It saves the town $50,000.
What is car 2 used for?
It'll be the deputy's vehicle, and
We went after that.
well, working on it. No, that's what that'll be for, and I went to the Northeastern Regional Fire Chiefs Conference for the IFC a week ago, 2 weeks ago, and Wayland Engineering actually had their demo vehicle, and they were listed for sale. It has not had any hard miles. It's all just from going from trade show to trade show and being dolled up. It has all the components of it's fully outfitted, which is the most expensive part of purchasing a vehicle. So in comparison, I looked at pursuit rated 2019 Durangos with similar mileage. They're going on like Carfax or wholesale for like between 20 and 25,000. The outfit package on this is well over, brand new is well over 40,000. So, they're charging a little for the outfit, but nowhere near what the actual cost is. And it's all the top of the line, Wayland bells and whistles, and so it's saving us, for us to build that particular cruiser brand new would be about $80,000.
You should probably 12 too. You got to ask you on that questions. Sorry, I realized we're halfway through. Go ahead,
Fire department, next item on the capital list for a repeater communications. So in town, locations that the fire department repeater system that be in place. Total cost of the system is $190,000. We have an earmark out of the state budget of $45,000 on the cover some of the costs of getting this back in play.
That's in the fiscal 24 state budget year. Okay, right.
So our balance, as listed on the board, is $145,000 for that. And then engine number 2 replacement, we've already earmarked $322,000 from ARPA. We transferred $150,000 last town meeting, and this is the balance coming out of ambulance receipts, not free cash. This is coming from ambulance receipts of $325,000, and that'll cover the cost of engine replacement for the solar.
This is just a standard. I'm going to ask a dumb question. This is just a standard fire engine. It's not. There's no special ops.
No.
Okay. All right.
It's actually a demo apparatus. It's the reason we're able to get it sooner rather than later. We order one new right now. We need almost 4 years before we see it. So I've been trying to stay on top of, demo apparatus and things that are stock apparatus, things that are coming out. Where we can catch them early enough where we can make some modifications to quote unquote Norfolkize it, or make it like we wanted. That's what we did with this particular
Rob has a request. Colors. What did you say? No. What's the thing? Really wanted something inside. But it was black. Something inside. That's fine. No, I'm kidding. Somebody someone's joking. I apologize. I remember something in the process. I apologize. Moving on.
Okay. So this was the last amount, not the total amount, that what you're saying there's.
Correct.
What's the total amount? Yeah, the total amount was like 798.
But we already approved a lot. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, we have ARPA 323. We have a transfer 150 and the balance here in the 325. Next item is IT. This is part of our 5-year recycle replace program. Basically, this is printers and desktop machine throughout the town that get replaced on an annual basis. 44,500 on the town side. Freeman Kennedy. On one of the walls on the outside, there's some structural integrity issues that needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. In order to accomplish that, it's going to be about $135,000, where some of the facade is actually falling away from the building.
Well, all right, is it structural repair or is it the facade is pulling away? So when you say structural repair, you go to town meeting, you're scared the heck out of people, like the building would fall down.
Facade repair.
I think so.
So while we have this answer,
Go ahead.
I have a question. So how old?
Wait a minute. Question. I thought you were going to answer something. Go ahead. Go ahead.
10 years, and it's not under, it's like 13, and it's not under warranty. Okay. That's.
What is it a, I don't even know, because I look at that building and I couldn't tell you what it's on there. Is it big brick or is it CMU? What's CMU?
Concrete masonry. Thank you.
All right, so it's big brick or big stone. All right, cool.
Designer.
Yes, designer. Sorry. All right.
School.
Yeah, Rob, you don't want that following on kids though.
Yes, but remember that, never mind. I'd like to go back to my vision generator when we're done with this.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
I'm just waiting. Sorry. School technology replacement, similar to the town, they're on a replacement program. They have a lot more computers. They're asked, typically it's been 150 or so. Last year we did 100. This year we're doing 75,000. Police, they were looking for 2 cruisers and 2 cruisers, 1 admin vehicle and 1 undercover vehicle. Going through the process, we've identified a cruiser, admin vehicle, and an undercover vehicle at the cost of 170. They're asking about another 77,000 miles on top of that. So, in order to keep we did check with the chief, asked him what his priorities were. He was going to get, because his asked was 4 cars. We said, let's look at 3, which 3 are the priority. He identified
A cruiser, an admin vehicle, which is basically just a car.
and then the undercover.
What's that?
For,
Oh, we can't tell it's healthy.
I can't tell you where it's stuck. You'll find out soon.
Gonna have the smoke cover over the, I follow
I
a
know.
car, like,
I know.
right under the ends, because I was trying to read what's like, I realized they got that close. to the car.
How many cars are they getting? Is it 2 or 3?
Three, a cruiser, an admin vehicle, and an undercover vehicle.
They don't have enough money for those 3. Not doable for 170. That's just my 10 cents.
Well, they're gonna have to do it for that, or they don't get them, so.
The undercover car is gonna be a 1983 Dodge Dart.
I drive that.
Hey, I got one. Okay, fine. Sorry, go
That's
ahead.
okay. Shifting to DPW, so they have 5 items, 3 sound side and 2 on the water side. DPW is a wheeled excavator, which will allow them a lot of flexibility to be able to do. Right now, as part of their program during the summertime, they do a lot of roadside maintenance. They have to actually rent a unit to help them with trimming stuff back. This particular piece of equipment would allow them the opportunity to do that. But it would also allow them an opportunity for excavating up the cemetery, other sites that, they don't necessarily need the big pieces of equipment. This would come in very handy for them.
So what is a real excavator, except I thought it was a big piece of equipment, it's not.
It's sizable, but it's not as big as. It's a little bit.
I was working in the same, and that was just a big loader.
You see them trimming on the side of the road around town with the arm.
So it's
Thank you.
a smaller concept, but
Yeah.
the same idea.
This, yeah, all right, yeah, all right, I get it. It's a.
And it's a multi-use.
Multi-functional. All right.
So 183,729 for that. Vehicle replacement, this particular vehicle on the DPW side. Ford Ranger has 131,531 actual miles plus all the engine use on top of that. This is the one that's.
Idling,
Correct.
it's a problem.
Town trash. Pickup and solid waste used now requires a replacement. Again, it's a 2004 Ford Ranger that they will be replacing. This will be for the transfer station.
And that's just a regular fitted out for radios. There's nothing.
But no, that's the Ford Ranger they have, the replacement vehicle that they're looking for. Full-size truck due to steady and ever increasing and specify what particular truck.
But it's a full size,
That'll be a full-size truck.
and they're throwing, that's the thing of throwing trash bags in the garage.
Roadway repairs, we've done in the past. $100,000 per year coming out, with the program, we got chapter 90 money, so it's about $400,000 a year. And there's additional $100,000 of opportunities to do various other projects throughout the town. And have small roadway repair as well.
May I have an appropriate plan to get this spent by June 30th?
Yep.
Okay.
And then the water department, there's 2 vehicles. One is a 1994 Ford truck with a lift gate that they would like to replace. That one would be 77,905. The current one has 132,485. And then the second truck is a 2005 Chevy pickup. Currently been out of service for months at 134,000. It's not currently safe. There's a lot past inspection in the frame and mechanical rust beyond economic repair. Truck replacement is 65,095. All in, 1,658,235. Again, 1.2 free cash, 325 ambulance, 133 from the earnings.
So the bottom of the vehicles are covered by the 130.
Correct.
So,
Just going back to the technology replacement, and I guess this question applies both to the schools as well as just the town, the department. I know we budget annually for that refresh, but what what's the age of the equipment that gets refreshed? Are we refreshing equipment every 3 to 5 years?
So 5-year program.
So we own all of that equipment, correct? Just out of curiosity, has there ever been any look at leasing things?
We certainly can relook at leasing. When we looked at it a few years back, it wasn't really more economical.
5 years.
Yeah.
So the funds here represent 1/5, give or take.
Right.
Of the equipment.
So that's
For both town entities.
Correct.
Thank you.
Mike?
Yeah, so for context, this 1.2 million of free cash was determined based on the list we had?
Correct.
Okay, and the list is based on the master list.
The master list that has $111 million of identified assets that need to be addressed at some point.
Right, okay.
Included in this, obviously, is the fire station and the sewer expansion and a few other items. But this is comprehensive. That's in process, will be generated and available soon. We're not done yet.
And it's partly driven by how much free cash we have or not.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, the annual expenditures.
Yep.
But like if next year we have
We had
a
less.
lot more or a lot less, actually, that needs to be shorter.
And then can we go, so how does this relate to the money on the second slide, Article 2?
Article 2 is transfers.
Right, so that had
Operations.
free cash also.
Correct.
That's if that money is available in this year because of budgets.
So we can transfer not only for operations, but we also transfer in stabilization. So we have it for the fund, and we also both have transfers going there. So those are operational ones. These are assets, capital items.
Yeah.
That we'll have available for a long term, not operational, like, within 1 year of expense.
But that was a similar amount, right? It was, I mean, I remember the slide.
What was the part of the slide?
Article 2 is only 300.
That was
350, I think.
Oh, yeah. All right, good.
There's a question about the next.
So the nitrogen, how big is the sprinkler system at the library? Like how many gallons? Does it hold? It comes up in the. All right, so, and I asked just because I'm, a Google genius, right? And I'm looking around the nitrogen systems and like the biggest one I could find was $15,000 for a data center. Where'd you get? So
They're smaller than that. Like we had a third party come in and here, and go, that entire thing was not to be replaced.
So is it more than just nitrogen generator that you're doing with 115K? Is that the sprinkler system?
Yeah, just the nitrogen.
Just the nitrogen generators
So where'd that estimate come from?
from the fire equipment company we use.
You're gonna bid this though, right? You're gonna get multiple.
Yes, that's, so they could be less. You're right.
Yeah, it could be.
The sprinkler system is identified at $2.6 million.
Well, I don't doubt that. I'm just talking about like a nitrogen.
So I know, but this hopefully will up to preserve and make it a little bit longer usage.
Yeah, this is not big, this is to stop and corrosion for mitigate as much as possible. Let's stop it completely.
Ken or Joyce, you guys have any questions? Dan?
Can you hear me? I don't know if I'm off mute. Okay. Many questions. Let me keep them brief. I wish we saw some of the quotes and things instead of just the PowerPoint an hour before the meeting because the generic numbers they don't tell the story. Curious on just looking down the list, fire department, repeater and communications. I'm new to the AdCom. I'm not new to public safety by any means. And I'm curious why we're on the hook for this. We're, generally speaking, when you go to a regional dispatch center, that's part of the thing is they maintain the infrastructure. They have all the ability to get the bigger grants and that sort of thing and bring money in for this stuff. So how did we end up with this? Thank you. Okay, I knew it. Something's wrong with the MEC. They should be paying for this. Nothing else on that one then. Let me just move past. The DPW, the 183, is that on a state buying list or are we putting that out to bid?
Wheel excavator.
I'd have to get back to you on the exact of what they're gonna be doing, but obviously everything over that certain amount having to go out bid, so that this would be, I don't, unless we did pull from the state list, I just don't have that information by inside.
Ken, I would love for you to come to one of the MEC operations meetings so you can explain to the leadership of the MEC that that's what the regional dispatch center is supposed to do, because myself and the rest of the fire chiefs, and I believe some of the police chiefs, have been preaching that same thing since its inception to deaf ears. So when I call the MEC, for example, when I've had issues with my repeater, I've been told directly, that's not my problem, you have to figure it out, literally. So that's why that's on there. You are speaking my language. It should be something. It's what other regional dispatch centers are doing. Ours is not, and it is, put it this way, it is extremely beyond frustrating. It's a subject for another meeting. We have collectively as the fire chiefs, all the MEC, submitted a letter to the board of directors to come under the full merger with Simrec, because they are doing exactly that. When you pay into their system, all your infrastructure, all those things are taken care of. Where with us, it's not. So, you know, I'm in a situation where I've been limping repeaters or repeater sites almost since I've been here. I've had 2 major instances where I had 0 communication because repeaters failed. And, you know, we've got to get it fixed. Unfortunately, the MEC has done nothing and refuses to do anything to participate in that process.
No, I agree. I mean, somebody probably needs to do a full audit of their books and see where it's going, because Semrec's been doing it for years. I was there at the inception of Semrec when I worked in Foxborough. So we didn't even get the benefit from it because I was ahead of the curve in Foxborough and already replaced most everything. So other agencies got it, but that's why I was just curious. I saw that and I'm like, well, hey, this is, you know, it's a good amount of money, so it's obviously a pretty big project. But I'm on vacation. The others have my email address. They're welcome to share with the fire chief and get in touch with me. We can chat offline. I want to hold this up.
Thank you, Ken.
Thanks, Ken. Really getting back to you on your question. It's actually, so the price quoted is from Mass State Contracts, FAC 116, includes the bucket and mower attachments.
Okay, great, thanks.
The follow-up on one of Ken's other comments is, when Justin talked to us about it before, it would be great if we had a 5-year plan so that when this list pops up, it's not like, but we don't,
I don't have it right now. It gets published.
I understand what you're saying, but you know, the fact that we basically have to vote on this tonight or not. You know, it's just take the message back. He's heard it from us. He's heard it from us before. So, okay, thank you. Just because, so next time when this comes up, we've said, okay, that's the thing they had on their list from last year or whatever. So, meaning, I understand how capital budget put together, but this is, we don't know any, we've never heard about some of these things before. And on some of them clearly are relative. I was about to say some of them are relative emergencies, and some of them, and I understand how emergencies get added to capital budgets as well. But that's why I had a nice back and forth about nitrogen. Sure. Anyways, just thank you. Am I allowed to have this on public? We've been proved. It's not public. I think we're all done with that. Is Cindy on? No. Did she message you? No. Okay. All right. I think we're done with the articles that we need to review. Let me pull up the warrant. And as we walk through, Eric is going to stop me when I answer. Then when I start discussing one, we've already discussed it. You can start going into stuff. Before we do so though, I want to let folks know, Article 5, which is it's now called the Norfolk School Feasibility Study. The school committee voted to hold the article that was before us last week and come in with a different request, which is basically to update the demographics and do some alternative analysis on modular school system. The language in here, we're not going to vote on this tonight. I'm going to ask the school committee and the superintendent. We're going to schedule a meeting between now and town meeting. They're going to come and make a presentation to us. To the new article, they're not prepared tonight. We're not prepared tonight. So that will be coming up. We voted to IP it. My understanding is the select board are considering the new article tonight, so we can't do anything until we hear that they've done anything. So we're not going to deal with it tonight, but there will be a follow-up on the school article. Also 6. Well, hold on. Article 6 they want to keep, which is that they would create a school building committee, and it would then become the entity that deals with all the stuff going forward, not superintendent school committee.
But that was I need that class.
We both either it didn't make any sense to say right cover for it. So we will have an opportunity to reconsider that article at a future date prior to town meeting. I'm thinking November 1st. We can talk about that now or at the end of the meeting. That's 2 Wednesdays from tomorrow. Correct, yes. But having said that, we can move on with the rest of the warrant, unless anyone has any questions. Okay. Budget transfers. We heard a presentation from Todd earlier tonight. Did we already have P1? We actually, yes, that was the first thing.
Yeah, I did it.
So Article 2 are budget transfers. Todd's made a presentation for tonight. If we have no further questions or anything, we can entertain a motion on it.
I'm going to approve. Article 2 is written.
Okay. Second. All in favor, I have to take a roll call. We have 2 online members. Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Carrier.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Michael G. Rob Gary. David Lutz. Aye. Article 3 is capital expenditure borrowing. This is the water department project that were presented to us. Looking for I move the article as printed. Okay. We'll call a vote. Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Carrier.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Michael G. Bob Gary. Aye. Article 4, which is the longer list of capital projects that we just discussed. I will take a motion on that.
I'm looking to approve Article 4 that's presented
Earlier. Second. Rob Gary. Aye. Michael G. Aye. Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
And Fitzgerald.
Aye.
David, can we assign people to?
Oh, yeah. I'm happy to write up the capital ones unless someone else wants to. I can write up those first 3 of these.
So they need to write us and also write the motions for each article.
Okay. We had this discussion last time. Ken, if and when you get one of these, I think you volunteered to do the opioid stabilization fund, if I'm not mistaken. We'll send you some language for you to copy for the write-up that goes in the town meeting warrant, as well as the motion that you will be making on the town meeting floor, and you write that up and submit it. As we assign these, there's a reservoir of these things that we can look at. Most of these have been made and written 100 times, no matter of changing 3 things. So that'll happen. I will do 2, 3, 4. Article 5, we're going to review at a later meeting. Article 6, new IP, we'll do that at the same time. town meeting, reports, we don't have to take a motion on. Article 8 is, this is the sediment analysis, and I have heard from the conservation agent that there are some issues with that, and I would like to IP it. I thought that's why Steve was here, but she disappeared. I'm recommending an IP on that. There are some issues related to the sediment analysis. Some of the questions we had about the reuse of the materials from the dredging are not clearly answered according to our conservation agent, Caitlin, who was at the last time we discussed it. And I think we should consider IP. I can't make the motion, I guess. Can I make a motion? I'd like to make a motion IP Article 8. Give me a second.
The only course of action.
Yeah, because there's a lot of questions on it. I don't think we can get to. There's some issues that need to be resolved.
Give them the meeting.
Yeah, but I want to hear, this one is one that I don't work on first. I'm not going to get it resolved now.
Okay.
So I hear you have to write up.
Okay.
So
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm not asking.
yes, understood. I apologize.
Comment.
I will actually forward the email. I apologize. I thought I forwarded it, but I don't think I did. You get the same thing, so I apologize. There was a flood of email that came in the same day. I can share it now. So and you can come back to it before.
There's a motion. Right?
Yeah. We've been pushing this off. We can just take a vote. Okay, we can take a vote. But you just trust it. You trust me? Jonathan Hurwitz.
The motion's good.
I hear.
I'm sorry, which one?
It's the sediment, it's the dredging one for the pay for the phase of sediment analysis.
Sorry, can we, move, to IP?
No, I've already made the motion.
Aye.
Michael, aye. Dave, Ron Garrett, aye. Joyce Carrier,
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald,
Aye.
David Luke's aye. The weed control program,
Who's gonna do the,
I will write this. I better stop volunteering.
We already approved that.
Yes, we already approved that one. Okay. We heard last week on the two fields,
But we didn't, right.
oh, the weed control one?
I volunteered for like 4 of them, but I don't remember what they were, so I don't, that might have been one.
you volunteered for,
Was 9 of them.
and my husband will be voted, but I
Mike's gonna be. That sounded really bad, sorry.
Bring down the lead.
Last week we heard from, Ann Proto and, someone from the Baseball Association about the fields. Article 10, is the baseball field conversion, which was the Babe Ruth field. They want to convert to a sort of convertible softball, baseball field.
But you did not vote on it.
We did not vote.
I'm reviewing.
I'm entertaining a motion on that one,
What needs to be
unless there's any further questions from folks. We want to not do this one? It's a CPC fund for rehab of the field.
Yeah, I would move to approve.
Okay. I need a second on
I
that.
mean, I watched the video, I was not in the meeting.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
The operating budget and the field maintenance. Yep. That doesn't ever come out of CPC, right?
No, it's the DPW budget, right?
Can it? Is it, are we included?
We cannot use CPC funds that were paid. Okay, you can't do that. Or we wouldn't have these. But yeah, it's not allowed.
Even maintaining things.
Construction, okay, maintenance.
So my only concern with this one in particular was there was a comment made as part of that discussion, I'm not debating it. The utility of the current field is 0 right now. There's no debate, and I agree that we need a smaller field and we would use it. I don't have concerns on that. The concern is just stemming from the comment I was making in that discussion. We don't have enough funds today to maintain the fields we have today. And adding 2 more fields is going to exacerbate that.
Because the other field is deep. The other field would be, the softball field being used in the.
It will cost more in maintenance to maintain and restore the field than
It will cost less.
it will today. Not too many.
Well, either way, I mean, I get your point. I just don't think, I mean, the reality is both a significant chunk of the maintenance that DPW provided is mowing. Provides mowing. A lot of the maintenance of the base paths, et cetera, it's sort of a joint work between the softball and baseball associations and the DPW.
Yeah.
And I think Ann relies on the DPW to carry the bulk of that, but I think if it's there, it's gonna get mowed anyways.
Yeah, it's the mowing.
Because it's in the middle of all the other fields.
Yeah, and I'm belaboring the point that is perhaps larger than the other articles, so I apologize for that, but there were a number of things that were just as a general comment on building more fields is, the comments made that I'm reacting to. Number one, we don't have enough funds to maintain them properly as it's without adding more fields, so we're compounding that problem. And then the second item is baseball fields in particular. Mowing is done, to your point, mowing is done by DPW. And then the infield work is done by dads who typically make it worse, right?
I don't disagree with you on that.
Who ruin the grade by,
And every time it rains, they dump 3 bags of seed right.
All of these kinds of things. So the point is, I do support the conversion of these fields. Again, the usefulness of them right now is 0. I just think we ought to start looking a little longer term that we're creating more budget shortfalls going forward by voting for these types of things. And if we can fund things indefinitely through CPC funds to build, but we don't have a plan in place for the town to take ownership of and maintain. It's no different than the road Shire Drive we're talking about, where someone comes in and does it halfway and then hands the rest to build us, and then we'll manage each other, save our squares, the rest of the money. This is really no different.
I think, and I've raised this a couple times during the operating budget operation, that I think the association need to pay more for the field use. They shouldn't be doing. They pay use fees, but I don't think it's enough. I think the use fees should be largely covered by, or the use fees should largely cover the maintenance, because they are the organizations that use the fields for the most. And that will drive the associations crazy, but it's got to be part of the discussion. It's not a shared responsibility. The expectation is that DPW and CPC are going to fix the problems that the associations create. So I agree with you on that. And I think it's something we can probably bring up before next spring with Ann and Barry and to say, look, Barry tell us what, Ann and Barry tell us what you need to figure out how you're going to get the money out of baseball and softball.
I'll second Mike's motion.
Okay.
Notwithstanding Jonathan's excellent.
But I mean, we can continue to discuss that. Does anyone else have any comments before we vote?
What's the motion? I couldn't hear
The
it.
motion is to approve Article 10, which is the baseball field rehab that we were presented with last week.
The 98,000.
And the 98,000, and the next one is going to be that softball field. Rob Gary.
Aye.
Michael G. Aye. Jonathan Herman.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Stereo.
Aye.
David Lukes. Aye. Archels.
Vote aye or present?
Did you vote president or aye, Joyce?
I voted aye on 10.
Okay, your audio is low. Thank you.
Aye.
Article 11 is the softball. Yes. And we could have the same discussion, but I think we had it. Does anyone want to raise any points on this? Can I get a motion on this one to approve? Okay.
Second.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Barrio.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Mike T. Aye. Bob Garrity. Aye. Dave Lutz. Aye. Who wants to write these ones up? Okay. I think it would be a big vote. Yeah, okay. Be important. You make those points. Metacomet Greenway Trail, Article 12.
I move to approve the article as ground.
Second. Any further discussion on that? Rob Garrity.
Aye.
Mike G.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
David Lutz. Aye. Anyone want to write this one up?
Okay.
The Article 13 is the prudent investor rule. Eric reported us some stuff that we got from John Justin. I don't know if anyone had an opportunity to look at this. It's for dinky funds, small funds. I actually do think the Kundi Conservation Fund, are you able to provide balances in this fund right off the top of your head? I apologize. Which one is that? There's 4 funds that fit into this, that would fall under this rule. And they are, but there's, I just want to tell folks what they actually are.
Two or three of them, you trust.
Are what?
The Columbia Trust.
So the Kundi Trust has
2 or 3 trusts.
separate trusts. I know about the conservation one, but I didn't know there was 2 others.
Could Conservation Library Conservation, HOK, Memorial Trust. Sorry.
What? What? Do you know what is the library fund fund? Does it fund stuff at the school? I mean, at the library?
I don't have that.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Are these actively used? No?
They are not.
That no one knows about. They haven't.
They did a purpose when they went in.
Right.
And it was reserved for particular.
I understand. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, yeah, the important things for us. The reason I know about the Kundi Conservation Trust Fund is because when I was in the conservation committee, we actually used it to do so, not at the Kundi Forest, which is the only place. How many I actually there you go. I have no opinions on there yet. Rob does, but I can tell. You have, Rob? What do you think, Rob? I mean, does anyone else have an opinion on the prudent investor rules that would be changed if we adopt this article, which would allow for a slightly looser, slightly more expansive investment strategy for these funds?
I understood Justin be in favor of it, right? But as it brings that,
But I think it's
applying pressure. Trust funds, scholarships. Seemed like a request for a cleanup.
I think that, I mean, one of Justin's arguments is to bring them in line with state law, right, for these kinds of laws.
The state law merely allows the use of this.
I understand.
Standard. It doesn't.
Required fire rate.
This is like to me, this is a solution in search of a problem. I don't understand why we're actually going to the point of going to town meeting and asking, you know, can we take the $24,000 in this account and invest it slightly differently? You know, to me, there's the overall theme of playing roulette with public money is, well, then it's not playing roulette with most points. All right, if you're talking about a 2.1 return versus a 2.105 return, what's the point of this? Why are we changing stuff? I don't get it. It was passed for a reason. And you and I, Dave, worked with state government long enough to know that somebody lobbied for this for a reason. Okay, because they want to get their hands on money. They want it more actively invested. Therefore, because then
it's bigger in their portfolio or something. There's something here that just seems silly to deal with these tiny little funds and move them off the rule. Frankly, these funds should have their money in like textbook savings accounts. All right, I don't understand why we're doing this. And I'm a conservative. So when I don't understand why we do things and why I can't give any good reason, I'm not gonna do it.
Okay.
You guys can all vote yes all you want.
Like I said, I have no opinion. I don't know how strongly anyone really feels about this.
We asked why, and I got the thing, and the document doesn't say anything, it just says.
I would also argue that we have a treasurer come before us, and she has not, so. I think that would be a point that I would think, is that we could ask these questions directly about the company given that opportunity. We got a list of ones that are, that's what we got.
And I didn't get the sense, if Justin came in and said, oh, we need to do this, then yes, Justin was supportive of it.
I don't think it's necessarily a need to do this. I think, like you said earlier, this is following along, that's the laws to allow the opportunity to have an investor rule available for towns to utilize. Implementing this gives us some ability to get us that 0.05% that we need, because it does help out long term. So having that availability provides us the opportunity. We still have to work with our financial advisor. They provide us the documents for the investment. They still have to go to fast legal list to say, okay, what investments? We can't buy Bitcoin or anything crazy like that. Sorry. No Enron.
So
Can you find it on anyone?
Saying can't buy.
well, legal list is one checkbox, and prudent investor is another checkbox. So I read that to mean you're either on legal list or you're a prudent investor. So it's not like you still have to be in legal list.
Correct.
So what's
It's a little bit more flexible as far as the investments that the investment advisor can have available. Still has to be somewhat of a safe investment.
somewhat?
I know what the word true means,
So you would recommend it?
as did Justin.
I like to keep current with current things that are here.
Yeah.
That way I don't have to struggle and say, this particular account has this and this particular account has to go this way.
Rob.
That's exactly the point. I don't want any other accounts to go for an investor. But I don't want like the 600, the $2.1 billion dollars. Huh?
This will only impact those that are.
Well, then why do it? Okay, so I think we're doing it to make it easier to do with other ones. And I don't want to do that. So I would vote no. I just, what's so good about the pre-investor rule versus the legal list, which is the way it's been done for years? What's the
I have a question.
Yes, Ken.
I'm a little bit with Rob on this, and I'm wondering, is this something that would maybe benefit from being IP'd and see how other communities do with it over the, fall, spring, whatever, and revisit it next year after we've seen what's happened elsewhere, if anyone else adopts it in any, nearby places. I don't know, just a thought.
Anyone else have an opinion on this?
Well, I'm willing to move the motion or vote on that seat, but I think I'm against. You went, I will remember that.
Joyce? You look like you're thinking about it.
Right. I do have a question. So a statement or commentary and then a question. So this article is to approve something that has already happened on the state level, the Mass General Law. It's asking the towns to change this prudent investor rule. Yes.
Allowing them.
Oh, allowing it. So what happens if we don't vote on this and accept or allow this new rule? What changes in our town?
Nothing. They're covered under a current rule called the legal list, and they would remain covered by that list, that rule. This would create a different category of ways they could choose to invest. Otherwise, across the four that are named in the email.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Well, so just to be a crazy person again, if you're calling it a prudent investor rule and you're pointing out, I'm a prudent investor, I'm only going to invest prudently. It's like, I think that I'll protest too much. All right.
Rob, I think you're reading way too much into the fact that the treasurer.
The statute is a trustee shall invest in managed trust assets as a prudent investor would. Of course. So what's the difference from, are the current investment rules imprudent? I don't get it. Why do you have to say this? You have to say this because you're doing different things.
We have a motion on this? John, did you ever, you've been all quiet over there. You're looking up something, so.
I'm reading the act.
Okay.
You think it's going to be indefinite, but someone could just move that. But I'm not going to. Or I'll move the motion, and I don't know what happens when we go through that action.
I'd rather not.
Okay.
I'd like to get a sense of, I'd like to take one vote on this, get a sense of whether anyone has. I know how I'm going to vote and how Mike's going to vote, but I mean, and I think I know I can vote, or would vote, but I would vote for an IP because I do think I'd like to have a direct conversation with treasurer. I also think the idea that I think Ken raised about talking to other communities and whether they've adopted this would be worthwhile. So
The risk and consequence.
there is no risk and no consequence. For the next 6 months, we're talking dollars. We're not talking tens of thousands of dollars.
There's a credit market, but
Tens of thousands of dollars. Okay, hundreds of thousands. All right, I'll make a motion to IP it since no one else can do this. Second, yeah, better so. I have to take a roll call and a vote to IP this. Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
I,
Michael G. No. Rob Gary. Aye. Dave Lutz. Aye. I would like Rob to write this one.
that's punishment.
It certainly is. Rob is ready.
We can do 2,000 words.
in the course of human events.
All right, we are. Yeah, sure.
Question maybe Rob, you may know, like, I don't understand how the legal is. I mean, I've read this act and it's really generic. To your point, there's nothing in here that's controversial in terms of what this reads. I don't understand, or I don't think know what is the legal list. I don't know what this does at all, that what this allows of the legal list.
You kind of just want it down. We don't know. We've been asked to make this change.
So the legal list is the identified list provided by Mass, a list of the appropriate funds.
And for investment vehicles, and then takes those handcuffs off.
Allow that to go
That's
abroad.
anything, or is it an expanded list?
Prudent investment.
Anything approved is best with investment.
So it's undefined.
Well, I assume we have sent
So you created the option to create more opportunity for.
So you could invest in Bitcoin if your investment advisor said, well,
No.
I was.
It's not prudent investment.
According to their list.
I don't have that answer, but I'm telling you, we were saying, I was a prudent person, I would not be that.
Okay, so I mean, then, it might be an extreme example, but then there's could be all kinds of things in the gray area where many people.
Right, you were
like
asking,
GameStop was a spectacular investment.
so you were asking earlier what the legal list is.
Right.
Legal list is the listing of all those companies we invested, and it's funds for companies will have you, yeah, available for all.
And it's just, it needs to handcuffs as long as there's some professional judgment.
Correct.
That says, I'm doing this at the, to the benefit of the beneficiary trust.
It's a prudent thing.
So it's anything.
It's moved. Nice.
Well, it's, yeah, I mean, we're going to continue this discussion.
All right, so so this is.
It's up for further discussion.
At the end of the day, the benefit of this is come down to an investment advisor by investment advisor basis. And does our town pick, the legal list, that's not handcuffed.
I don't want to do this.
Okay.
We've already voted.
We've already voted.
We can get it back, that kind of, yeah. Which, did you read? It said nothing.
Okay, articles, 14, 15, 16, and 17, we've already adopted. Article 14 is a debt stabilization fund. It's created the debt stabilization fund, which is a capital stabilization fund essentially. Do we have any?
That was me.
You were gonna write that one up? Okay. The tri-county one, you're writing that one up?
Yes.
Opioid. Ken, did you actually volunteer to write the opioid one? Yes, okay.
That is not great, that's not my business.
And then the appropriation of opioid fund. Is that one? Yes, it is. Okay. So Todd, actually, did you explain the difference there? Oh, okay, this is the.
It's accepting the law.
Right, okay. Fine, great. Does it make sense for you to write that? There's two, there's the creation fund, thank you, Ken. Raising. 18 is the one we discussed earlier today about the Shire Drive. Shire Road. I don't think we have anything to do with this except push the money forward.
Right, I move to approve the 18.
Second. All in favor of approving Article 18, which would move the $272,000 in performance bond funds into active usage. Rob Harris.
Aye.
Mike G.
Aye.
John Hurwitz.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
Article 19 is the technical chair. What? Oh, David Luke's aye, sorry. Thank you.
Who's gonna write it up?
No, right.
No,
Wait a minute, yeah, all right.
I mean,
Article 19 is the technical corrections and parking space thing. This is the last time. Is John still here? Yes, this is the last time we're going to hear those parking lots, right? This is like 3 out of 5.
Can't guarantee, I can't guarantee.
Yes, it's an issue.
We're always offering one back. Well, people like it. Did I get one down?
no,
No. Did I get a motion on Article 19?
I moved to approve Article 19.
Second. All in favor, Rob Garrity. Aye. Mike G. Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Great. Robson, are you gonna write this one up? You writing, okay, you doing all the planning?
Yeah.
You're the man. All right. Jump on one here. Article 20 is the amendments to the by right alteration issue. Shorthand that.
Non-conforming structures.
Non-performing structures. Do we have any further questions? I know Chad's still here and so is Rich, but okay. Can I get a motion on this?
I move to approve Article 20.
Can I get a second? Second. Okay, all in favor, Joyce Terrio,
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald,
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Mike G. Bob Harry.
Aye.
Dave Lewis, aye. You thought about that, didn't you? Article 21 is the dimensional special permit for accessory buildings, the issue with where the buildings are, front yards, et cetera, or not just front yard, depending
I
on
move,
broader definition.
I move to accept, whatever, Article 21 is written, approved. There you go.
Can I get a second? Okay. Roll call on that. Rob Garrity. Aye. Mike G. Jonathan Hurwitz.
Aye.
Joyce Terrio.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Great. We are done. Oh, Dave Lewis. Aye. All right. We are done with the warrant. As I said, I just got an email. We all got an email from Jeff. I think everyone did. This selectmen approved the warrant. I didn't look at specifically the school article. But I would like to schedule a meeting for us on November 1st. Please do. And we would hear from Ingrid and the school committee about their revised article, which is essentially an expansion of the current feasibility study to take into account. One of the things I should back up, and I apologize for this, and I've already apologized to Ingrid for this. When we voted the money for the feasibility study, which was done 2 springs ago, the article clearly stated that the feasibility study was for an addition to the Freeman Kennedy School. All the questions we had about alternatives, they were not allowed to look at those based on the article as drafted. The scope for that went out as a scope for an addition. There remains a separate question about the demographics, which was a whole separate conversation. What the expanded article would do was allow them to look at alternatives, but also update the demographic information. I'm not prepared to vote on it. I want Brian and Susan to be available for this, so I don't want to vote on this tonight. Like I said, we'll be for November 1st. This article would appear with no recommendation. I would recommend that we say, well, no, it's a different article. So what we voted on earlier doesn't exist. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Do we need to change our vote if we're allowed procedurally from the last one from IP to?
Yeah, we can reconsider our vote at any point.
Because if the fact of the matter is, if we were unhappy and we voted to IP this because we felt that there were a couple of options that were pursued, right? And we were interested in hearing what the outcomes of modular versus other things. If it comes to pass that they were constrained or unable to consider other options, okay, maybe the proper recommendation is we said we were going to vote to IP it to allow for more time to go off and do those things. But if they were precluded, and do more research, if they were precluded, now I know we have a new thing, but
We don't have an article.
we don't have
Like one by voter doesn't exist.
does exist. But I don't think, so we don't need, I guess, long way of saying, we don't need to change the vote of IP, no.
Right.
As much as we just need to wait and see what that is language is.
Yes, exactly. So I think the write-up that should go into the warrant is the advisory committee did not have appropriate time to consider the new article and will vote, will present which make their recommendations at town meeting.
Yes.
Okay. The second one, the IP, because we felt that there was no need to have a school building committee without some design process. That still exists. We can leave the recommendation as is, or we could vote to undo it and have the same recommendation right up going into the warrant. Does anyone have an opinion? I think, frankly, it probably makes sense for us to reconsider the IP vote and say that we will present our decision at town.
Could we reconsider both of those until the 1st? Could we motion to reconsider those 2 articles are on our meeting on the 1st?
What we would do is reconsider the vote and then not take any further action until the 1st. So what would be in the warrant is the board has taken no action because they did not have the final language.
On both of them.
Well, we have it on 6, but 16 is on 5.
Right, I would just do that for both.
Yeah, okay.
Even, I mean, that would be my recommendation.
Does everyone agree with that approach? Okay, so I need a motion to reconsider our vote on Article 5 to IP. I need a motion to reconsider.
Well, I'm sorry, maybe it's when I speak of this set down. I thought we were, why are we reconsidering?
Because we voted to IP something that frankly doesn't exist. So we
Oh, I see. Okay,
we've taken a position on something that's changed.
I see. So we're gonna un-IP it and then we're going to.
Not act on it until
Gotcha.
the 1st. So
Sorry, I just.
can I get a motion?
Move to reconsider our determination on Article 5.
Can I get a second? Second. All in favor, Joyce Terrio?
No,
Ken Fitzgerald?
Aye.
Jonathan Hurwitz?
I,
Mike G.
And I didn't vote on the original. Does that matter? Okay,
You can't make a motion typically.
okay.
And Rob Gary.
No.
Okay, Dave Lee's aye. The article we consider carries 4-2. So we will take no further action on that until we hear from the school committee on the first. I think the motion on Article 6 to reconsider it. So, would you state, I'd like to reconsider the vote on Article 6.
I'd like to be the same.
I need a second.
Second.
All in favor of reconsidering the vote on Article 6?
I just made a motion out of, no,
But you voted on it once.
I voted on it, but I didn't vote to move on it.
So actually, I know in our board jobs, you have to have voted on the prevailing side.
Okay, fine.
So I can't make it.
So I move to reconsider.
And we have a second. In favor of reconsidering Article 6, which is the creation of the school building committee, Rob Gary.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
John Hurwitz.
Aye.
Ken Fitzgerald.
Aye.
Grace Terrio.
No,
David Luce, aye. The vote was 5-1. In favor of reconsidering that vote, we will take no action on that until the first. What do I keep saying about? So I'd like to schedule a meeting for the 1st of November at 7 o'clock, where we can get it. I indicated that date to the superintendent, said she would live. So we do not have minutes to review tonight.
Yeah, I
We did.
During the meeting.
I don't think we should vote. I haven't had a chance to look this meeting. We'll wait. I'll deal with Carol. That would be part of the so we have no further business before. Yes, Rich? Oh, sorry. Rich asked me to schedule a meeting with us for the briefing on the master plan update. We can do that. We can even set it up as a new meeting. I don't think we want to do it the same night as the school discussion on the first, Rich, but when does Josh think, when do you need it to be done for us, if you know what I'm saying?
Probably or Thanksgiving, that way.
We could do this by Zoom. The other thing is if I can't get enough interest and you don't get a forum, it's gonna be a problem that you don't have a forum for an update. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it'd be good to have a forum.
Yeah.
But we don't have any direct control.
I don't know if it's really.
We don't have a position that meets.
Yeah.
Right.
We won't be taking any action.
But the reason I'm asking, we're not responsible for the outcome of that. We approved the money going to the town meeting, but that was about all it did. I'm very interested about this. I'll send an email. Do a poll. I think it does make sense to do it as a meeting. And if Josh could keep it under an hour, would be great.
That's hard for Josh.
Well, tell them that we're shut our computers.
No.
Thank you, Rich. So seeing no other business before.
So that's PD.
That's PD, yes. Seeing no other business before we have an entertainment motion to adjourn. No, in favor say aye.